Hello and welcome to ITV News Meridian.
Tonight's headlines here in the southeast. Deadly delays, thousands of avoidable deaths. Today's damning verdict on the government's response to the COVID crisis.
Rochester Cathedral pledges solidarity with victims and survivors of child abuse, saying we have failed and must do better.
And miniature masterpieces, a new TV series goes behind the scenes at Hornby in Margate.
Good evening. Thousands of deaths could and should have been avoided. The damning conclusion today of the first major assessment of the government's response to the COVID crisis.
The report says key opportunities were missed to contain the spread of the virus long before the emergence of the highly infectious Kent variant, and says the committee of MPs there was a disastrous failure to protect care homes, including dozens here in the southeast. Kit Bradshaw reports.
Jean Adamson's 98-year-old dad, Aldrich, died of COVID-19 in an Essex care home in April last year.
My dad was bedbound, so he contracted the virus in the home. There's no question about that because he never left the home. It comes down to the government's policy of not testing.
Those initial policy decisions have been scrutinised by a cross-party group of MPs who've determined that the delay to lockdown in early 2020 was one of the most important public health failures the United Kingdom has ever experienced. The manager of this care home in Tunbridge Wells gave evidence to the committee, including her experience in March last year of elderly residents being discharged from hospital wards with COVID outbreaks.
The hospitals, whether it was through their choice or actually through papers or guidance coming down not to let the care homes know that somebody was positive. That should never have happened. If somebody's coming out and they're coming out with an infection, regardless of what source it is, homes we need to know, we need to be prepared.
Kent and Sussex were hard hit by both the first and second waves of the pandemic. It's claimed mistakes in containing the spread were partly down to an acceptance of herd immunity among some of the government's scientific advisors.
With hindsight, it was absolutely a big mistake, and I think this also comes from the past where we just didn't think of that we would be able to stop such a thing, and we would just accept that many people die.
Today's report does praise the COVID vaccination programme, but says it's important that the government learns from both its achievements and mistakes. Kit Bradshaw, ITV News, Tunbridge Wells.
Well, for a reaction to today's cross-party select committee report, we can cross to our political correspondent Phil Hornby. Phil, how surprising is this report?
Sangeeta, it's not surprising because it doesn't tell us anything we didn't know already. What it does is it pulls together all the facts and really paints a very damning picture of politicians, scientific experts, medical advisors who were totally unprepared for this pandemic. But just listen to Matt Hancock, who was then the health secretary. This is the first time the so-called Chinese coronavirus was ever mentioned in the House of Commons.
The Chief Medical Officer has revised the risk to the UK population from very low to low, and has concluded that while there is an increased likelihood that cases may arise in this country, we are well prepared and well equipped to deal with them.
If only. Have a listen to one of the co-authors of today's report, the MP for Tunbridge Wells.
We didn't have testing capacity, which meant that there were people in the community, asymptomatic, unwittingly spreading the disease around the country.
From this evening, I must give the British people a very simple instruction. You must stay at home.
We locked down too late, and if we'd locked down even a week or two earlier, we would have saved many lives.
Devastating criticisms. The government haven't had much to say today, beyond the fact that they are going to hold a full statutory public inquiry.
Where there are lessons to learn from the information we now know, which was different to what was known often when these decisions were being taken, then the inquiry will enable us to do so.
But that inquiry, due to start next year, could take many, many years to finish its business.
Phil, thank you. 8 years after the Christmas floods in Kent, the government has approved plans to increase flood protection. Communities in Yalding, Tunbridge and Maidstone were among those hardest hit in 2013. It's hoped increased capacity at the Light Reservoir will reduce the risk to 1,400 homes in Tunbridge and Hildenborough.
A Kent Cathedral's launched a series of safeguarding events to recognise where the church can improve and declare its solidarity with victims and survivors of child sexual abuse.
One element is the loud fence, where people can tie a ribbon or leave a message of support. A declaration the church says that it can do better. Sarah Saunders has our story.
Tying a ribbon to show solidarity with survivors of child sexual abuse, and to acknowledge that in the past the Church of England has failed to sufficiently protect them. This loud fence is about acknowledging all victims and survivors, but it seems that the idea has come from a place of acknowledgement that the Church has failed some of those vulnerable people in the past.
That's absolutely right. What we're trying to do is, the first thing we're trying to say is sorry. There have been some terrible crimes committed. This is about trying to get things right going forward. That's been a problem in recent years, has been people have not been believed. And we want to just say to people, we are here for you, we have changed, things are going to be different, and we're going to try and get safeguarding right.
Rochester Cathedral itself recently recognised what it called a devastating failure in safeguarding children. A former organist is currently serving a prison sentence. An independent report in 2020 found the Church of England created a culture where abusers could hide. In part in response to that report, the loud fence, where people can leave a message or tie a ribbon, is part of a series of safeguarding events at the cathedral over the next few weeks. As well as the loud fence, the safeguarding season will have a public service of lament, a private session for survivors and victims, and also seminars with clergy.
As a young adult, I was abused by 2 Anglican priests, and that trust I had in what should have been my safe space was broken.
The cathedral developed its programme of events with help from people who endured sexual abuse at the hands of the church.
One act of solidarity is not going to change everything overnight, but the important thing is that we're working together and that there is a real commitment to see change happen and to see it through, not just empty apologies but actions.
Some critics have said symbolic gestures like the loud fence are too little, too late. But the feeling here is that the church must be open about its past failures and declare its intention to improve.
This is a loud fence. It says out loud to victims and survivors, we are on your side. That's what this is all about. We're not sitting on the fence and we're not on the other side.
Sarah Saunders, ITV News, Rochester.
Remember, you can catch up with all of our stories by going to our website. Now, the job of painting trains, racing cars and fighter planes can be a tricky business, especially when they're a fraction of the size of the real thing.
Yeah, that's the challenge that some of Britain's best designers face every day at model-making company Hornby in Margate.
They're the stars of a new TV show showcasing the intricate design processes that go into shrinking real life. Here's Joe Caution.
From scale-extric to locomotive models, Hornby have been taking over dining tables and spare rooms across the land for 100 years. Now it's their designers who will be taking over our living rooms in a new 10-part TV series. It'll showcase their attention to detail, taking you through the entire process, from making everything from the post boxes to the station buildings and the trains 76 times smaller, while still keeping them as lifelike as possible. Simon Kohler has worked at Hornby for over 40 years and says the intricacies of their models have been key to their survival.
Years gone by, if it was the right colour, then that was the loco. Nowadays, it has to be correct down to the last rivet. But it's not just what you see on the surface, it's underneath as well. It's the motor. It's the smooth running of the locomotive. You don't want it crawling along and stopping at points. That doesn't happen in real life. Huge amount of effort goes into not just the detail, but the actual running.
And if you think it's just for children or nerdy collectors to hide away in their lofts, you're wrong. The likes of Rod Stewart, Tom Hanks and Michael Jordan are apparently huge fans of railway modelling too. Looking past the nostalgia, for children today though, they're more interested in the latest consoles and video games. So how does Hornby ensure it won't run out of steam?
We're not oblivious to the fact that kids have their phones in their hand, they're playing with their tablet, they're on their laptops, and that's not just kids but adults as well. So recently we introduced something called the HM6000. It's an app where you can control your locomotives, your layout using your phone or your tablet. These products aren't for children, however we're keen to get kids into the hobby. We know that they're passionate about trains, so we've recently introduced something called Play Trains, which is a brand new range of toys for children, feature characters, faces, stories, allowing kids to set off on their model railway adventure.
Building for the future then, and inspiring the next generation of model collectors. And Hornby hope this new series can keep them on the right track. Joe Caution, ITV News, Margate.
Lovely.
Absolutely.
The attention
wonderful.
to detail.
Fantastic. A model weather forecast now. Holly Green.
Great Western Railway sponsors the ITV Meridian weather.
Good evening. We're sticking with a theme with our weather at the moment. Generally speaking, it's quite settled, but there are just a few bits and pieces to watch out for, a few flies in the ointment. So a little rain out there this evening for some, mainly in the west. Further east, clearer skies, chillier, and then the coming days, varying amounts of clouds, some spells of sunshine though still to be enjoyed, but again, some cold nights, a little rain but not too much, and mist and fog on occasion as well. So, high pressure dominating, but we have got this weak weather front with us, hence this chance of some rain this evening. But you can see if we pop the jet stream on, it's surging to the north, and that's allowing high pressure to dominate for the time being. Out there at the moment, well, the further west you are, more cloud, as I say, a bit of patchy rain perhaps. The cloud could get a little low, maybe a touch of hill fog. Come further east, clearer conditions, colder conditions, there's chance of some grass frost, but otherwise a nice bright start as we head into tomorrow morning. Come further west, you have got more cloud to begin the day, but that should tend to break, and I think we'll all get to enjoy some spells of sunshine as we head through the day tomorrow. We've still got this northwesterly drift to our wind, and temperatures, despite the bright skies, only up at around 14 or 15 degrees. Our times of high water, Hastings there at 4:26 and again at 5:02 as we head into the afternoon. And finally, the outlook. Well, slightly tricky detail day on day. Essentially, it's quite settled. There'll be some cloud around, some spells of sunshine. A lot of the time is dry, although perhaps Thursday night could bring a bit of patchy rain. Clearing into Friday, hopefully some spells of sunshine. Friday night could be quite cold. It could be, again, a little bit of a frosty start for some on Saturday.
Great Western Railway sponsors the ITV Meridian weather.
Definitely feeling chillier, isn't it? Now, Fred, you've had a busy day. You're on This Morning making headlines.
Yeah, as I said to lovely Holly and Phil, and on News at 10 last night, and here last night, I am off in a change of direction, as it were, in the middle of December. I'll still be doing my crime programmes and and a book I'm writing, but want a bit more free time with the wife and the family. But I just want to say to all of our viewers watching now, thank you for the hundreds and hundreds of messages of support I've had. I am so grateful. It's really kind of you. Thank you so very, very much indeed. But still, another couple of weeks, another couple of months to go.
Yeah, until Frexit, that's what I'm calling it. In just a moment, though, the ITV Evening News continues here with Mary Nightingale.
Natalie Ball's got our late news, but for now, from the team here at ITV Meridian, thank you for watching, take care, and come on England, and of course you're Hungarian. Bye-bye.